All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a text that takes a philosophical hammer to a really popular idea in modern psychology, this whole concept of integrating your shadow. So, forget everything you know about balance and harmony. This is about a radical, fiery, and honestly pretty brutal alternative. Right off the bat, the source material just comes out swinging. It's basically asking, really? That's what you think your darkness is? Just a little accounting error you need to fix? This confrontational, almost mocking tone is absolutely central to the whole perspective we're unpacking today.
So let's be clear about what's being attacked here. The argument is that our entire modern approach to the self has become, well, way too polite, too clinical, that we've tried to domesticate the very part of us that might just hold our greatest power. A polite clinical tragedy, as the source calls it.
Now, you've probably heard of this, right? It's straight out of Jungian psychology. The basic idea is that to be a complete person, you have to acknowledge and make peace with all the parts of yourself you've pushed down into the dark. The goal is wholeness, reach through a kind of gentle treaty with your inner demons. And this slide just lays out the mockery perfectly. The source uses these metaphors to just tear into this modern view. Your shadow isn't some wild primordial force. No, it's just a domesticated beast. We don't have to conquer it, we just need a firmer leash. It's not a terrifying abyss, it's just some dusty furniture in the basement of your mind. It's a process of assimilation, while in the source's words, you're actually being digested by your own mediocrity. Ouch. Okay, so you might want to brace yourself because this is where everything shifts. We're getting off the therapist's couch and picking up that philosophical hammer. It's time to stop whispering to our demons and start listening to a much, much harsher sound. Wow, okay, look at this. It's like two different universes. On the left, you've got the familiar psychological view. It's a clinical task. You integrate your traits, you make peace with your past, it's manageable. But on the right, the source is alternative. The shadow as a fatality, an inescapable condition. It's not just your personal stuff, it's the crushing weight of 1,000 years. It's the ghost of the god you murdered, but didn't have the guts to replace. That is a whole different ballgame. And this right here, this is the core thesis. Forget about reconciliation, forget making peace. According to this viewpoint, the shadow isn't something you can fix or negotiate with. It's a fundamental part of your condition. It's an inevitability. You can't just talk it out over a cup of tea. And here's where the diagnosis gets completely flipped on its head. The problem isn't that you have some hidden part of you that needs to be brought into the light. No. The argument here is that the real problem is a fundamental lack of strength, a failure of will. It's reframing the whole issue away from psychology and into a crisis of personal power. So, if the gentle path of integration is a total dead end, what's the alternative? Well, the source proposes something way more violent, way more active. A path where you don't just accept the abyss, you consume it. I mean, it's the natural question, isn't it? If we're supposed to just throw out the entire modern self-help playbook, where do you even start? What are you supposed to do with something that's called a fatality? One word, that's the answer. Stark, simple, and incredibly demanding. Overcome. This is not about understanding or accepting. This is a declaration of war on your own weakness, not a peace treaty with your past. And this is the ideal that's being presented. The Übermensch, the overman. This person doesn't just sprinkle a little darkness onto their light to make a pleasing gray. No way. Instead, they become so powerfully bright, so full of life, that the shadow ceases to be a threat. It just becomes the ground beneath their feet. It's all about consumption, about outshining. So what's the fuel for this fire? How do you actually do this overcoming? The source points to this concept, amor fati, the love of your fate. And this means loving everything about your existence, not in spite of the ugly parts, but because of them. That so-called ugliest man inside you, that part you're ashamed of, that's not something to be fixed with a psychological handshake. No, that's the very foundation you need to build your highest peak on. This whole idea of forging your own path naturally leads to a rejection of all systems. The source argues that reaching for psychological theories, for maps of the soul, is just another trap. It's the sign of a free spirit who is afraid of his own freedom. These maps, no matter how comforting they seem, are just another master telling you what to do, preventing you from creating your own way. And all of this brings us to the climax of the argument. The ultimate goal here isn't to be cured or fixed or whole. It's something so much bigger than that. It's about stopping to see yourself as a problem that needs to be solved and starting to become a destiny that needs to be realized. What an incredible image, right? Just think about the sun at high noon. Your shadow is at its absolute shortest. It's almost non-existent. That's the metaphor for greatness here. It's that moment of total self-affirmation where the old battles between light and dark, good and evil, just collapse into one single explosive yes to life. So in the end, we're left with this thundering command, a clear three-step rejection of the whole therapeutic model. 1, stop dealing with your shadow. 2, stop negotiating with your beast. And 3, become the lightning that shatters the clouds. And that's where we're left. This philosophy, it doesn't offer you comfort. It doesn't give you a neat 10-step plan. It just offers a challenge, a hammer blow designed to shatter the very way you think about your own inner world. The hammer has spoken, and the only question left is, do you have the ears to hear it?